In 5,
Hit me.
4,
Hit me.
3.
Hit me. Hey, welcome to the Brandon Gonez Show. I'm your host, BG, and today we're discussing social media, as in should your boss be able to punish you for what you post online? Then, Christians, you should close your ears because we're talking about sex. And we're talking about, do you think body count matters? If you don't know what body count is, Google it. And we also have a one-on-one interview with sexologist. There's a lot of sex on the show today. Shan Boodram about her new show, The Big Sex Talk. And we wrap up, as always, with a doing too much moment because, as you all know, there's always someone or something doing too much. But before we get into all of that, we need to do a few things, like subscribing to this channel, tapping the notification bell, and make sure to follow us on all of our social media. The details are in the description below. And don't forget to smash the like button. Here we go. Should employers be able to punish you for your social media activity? Let me help rejig your memory. Do you guys remember the Durham Region police officer who caught the internet's attention after she posted a video online calling Freedom Convoy protesters heroes?
I really wanted to give a shout out to all the truckers. I think what you guys are doing is incredible. You're fighting for our rights and freedoms. And right now it feels like we're a little bit at war and those rights and freedoms are at stake. You guys are honestly true heroes.
People were both for and against her views, but it looks like the police department she works for had some big concerns. Well, she's been charged with 2 counts of discreditable conduct, 2 counts of insubordination, and 2 counts of breach of confidence under the Police Services Act. This is pretty severe. She's due to make her first appearance before a tribunal on May 5th. So how are you guys feeling about this really quickly?
Was the convoy legal or illegal?
Based off of what the government did, they deemed it illegal.
So I think as a cop, then she should be punished.
She could have chosen to say it in plain clothes, but she chose to say it in her uniform, which could imply that she's kind of representing the police as a whole and not just her own comments.
I'm not here gonna punch Freedom Convoy protesters in the demonstration. Now, I agree, if she did say this in her plain clothes, in her free time, without wearing the uniform, I don't necessarily think that she should have been then punished.
You don't?
No, because I don't think what the Freedom Convoy was standing for was about life or death. It wasn't like Black Lives Matter. Like if there was a plain clothes officer who said, I don't support Black Lives Matter, I think they should be fired 100%. She said what she said. She had a lot to say. She was emboldened, but she did it in uniform and there were repercussions for what, officers are not above the law. But realistically, I mean, it's all part of the bigger question about free speech. And when you're employed somewhere, what is the line that you're not allowed to cross? I'm gonna ask you guys a question, but I feel like, I don't know if you're gonna be honest in front of me. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take you guys away. You guys are gonna go talk about it by yourselves so we can get some honest answers, okay? Roll the clip.
Should employees get in trouble for what they say online?
I think it depends on their position. I mean, being in like a place of influence or being somebody who has sway in some way, you should be mindful and there should be repercussions for like what you say online. A company and their employees have to have the same values or there's no synergy there.
I think it depends on your role in the company and if what you're saying is illegal or if it can hurt the company. Or if you have a customer-facing job within that company, you should be aware of what you put online. People are very judgmental right now and that could hurt the company.
I guess I see the sentiment where it's like employees don't have free speech. They do have free speech because they're technically able to say whatever they want. The issue is more so like you're not free from the consequences of what you say. Like,
what did you say?
And that's the thing that people get confused sometimes. They take the dinner table talk outside to the public. Keep it at the dinner table, in the comfort and safety of your own home. Once you put it out there in the ethos, not ethos, I mean ether, anything is up for grabs. Anyways, we also asked people on the streets how they felt about this topic. Here's what they had to say. Do you think employers should be allowed to regulate what their employees say on social media?
It's like a matter of free speech. You just gotta really watch what you say.
You think there should just be freedom for employees to say whatever?
Yeah, unless it's like wildly not good, you know?
But what's wildly not good?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think the general line in like everyone's life is like racist things, homophobic things, like derogatory things in general, you know what I mean?
I think it depends on what the individual's role is at the organization and what type of presence they have with customers.
Yeah. Let us know because we want to hear what you think in the comments. Do you think your employer should be allowed to penalize you for your social media activity? All right, well, going from one thing to another, let's talk about sex. So do you think sexual habits like having sex on the first date or body count matter?
No.
no.
But listen to this. Studies show that the average heterosexual millennial has about 8 sexual partners in their lifetime. But a 2018 study found that men in their 20s thought women with 7+ sexual partners had too high of a body count, while women thought that 10+ partners were too many. Why do you think other people think it matters? Because let's be honest, there is a stigma out there that...
There is.
You know what I mean? You've been around.
There's miles on the car.
Everybody wants a brand new car. Sometimes it's better to have a car that knows the road.
Exactly, experience.
And knows the course. You know, we asked some people on the streets how they felt about this. We had a few interesting takes. Roll the tape. Do you think body count matters when you're dating?
I don't think it matters.
You don't think it matters?
Nah, it doesn't matter.
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you think it's a double standard though?
I don't believe there's the double standard and that there maybe once was. I think
Yeah.
women are more empowered to, you know, have a sexual history, and Generation Z is probably more accepting of,
Yeah.
you know, your life is your life. You respect one another.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what people's history is.
I mean, would you be okay if your partner flaunted her body count?
It wouldn't matter to me. Like if my partner had like multiple people before me,
Not multiple, I'm talking dozens.
that is multiple.
I think there's a certain number. There's a certain number.
If somebody told you on the first date they've been with 100, you asked, hey, what's your body count? They said over 100.
Yeah, then I'd be like, oh, okay. Like, that's a lot of meaningless sex over there, my friend. But I feel like everybody needs a little bit of a whole phase.
I don't know if everybody's nature is curious. I think some people want to
You're
experience
right,
that
I don't know.
curiosity
I've
with
only
just
lived
one
in my
person.
body.
I think at the end of the day, here's what people need to do. Stop worrying about who other people have been with, what other people are doing, and worry about yourself. Are you happy with who you've been with? Then be happy. If you're not happy, then change it. But stop worrying about what other people are doing and how many people other people have been with. Because it just seems like you might be jealous, or maybe you have your own insecurity that you're dealing with.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? Let me know in the comments. Do you think sexual habits like your body count or how long you wait to have sex should matter? All right, now we have a special interview this week with the woman who made us start talking about sex, Toronto's very own Shan Boodram, who has been shaking things up online with her sex education content. She now has her own documentary series, The Big Sex Talk, on CBC Gem. And I actually sat down with her to talk about the new series this week and what life is like as one of the world's favorite sexologists. And she even let me know if size actually matters.
Why do you look at me?
No, I was looking at your camera.
I thought you were looking at him, so I looked at him too.
No, I was sex and pleasure expert and also host Shan Boodram. Thanks so much for joining me here on the BG Show.
I don't think I've ever been called a pleasure expert before, so it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, I feel like you actually have the conversations everybody wants to have, but is too afraid to have.
Yes, I do. But I think one of the things the Big Sex Talk really illuminated beautifully is something I really try to emphasize to people, that nobody is great at sex across the board. Just like no one's
Not
great
even
at
me?
making, no, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, just say you go to somebody, they say, I make the best spaghetti, right? You're gonna still be like, well, I hate meat, or okay, that's good, but I don't like tomatoes. So you can't make the best spaghetti for everybody. You have to know someone's individual taste and their needs, and then curate that, you know, based on their likes. I say that to say sometimes when, you know, I'm referred to as a sex expert or as a pleasure expert, there can be an emphasis on like, I'm very good at sex. But I love the fact that Big Sex Talk was like, what is sex? Or like, that's even the question that we have to ask before we start saying like, who's great and who's not, and who's having good sex and who's not. So I loved that the conversation really started there. And I love that our conversation is starting there.
Okay, well, first off, I love that you're from Toronto. I don't know if all of our viewers know that, but shout out to the Six.
Yes, I am from Toronto. I am, you know, born North York General Hospital, grew up in Scarborough, went to high school in Pickering, went to college in Centennial College at East York, and then I went to one of the Scarborough campus, lived in East York, lived in Liberty Village. So I've spent the bulk of my life in Toronto.
How did you step into like this role and find this niche about speaking about pleasure that everybody deserves in life?
Yeah, I think, you know, to be honest with you, it started when I was really young. I was just naturally drawn to the human body, to intimacy, to love, to connection. I was very curious about it. But I have Caribbean parents and I went to a Catholic school.
Hold on, which island?
My Guyana and Dominica. Not technically an island, but the Caribbean. So, well, Dominica is. But essentially, so from that point, I wasn't really encouraged to lean into this. And so I essentially hid my passion for it. And then as I got older and that passion became more passionate, you know, in your teen years, I essentially found a lot of my education in non-reliable sources like porn and books and fiction TV shows. And that just led me down a really dangerous path. And so when I turned 19, I found myself at a fork in the road where I was, okay, here's this thing that I really care about that hasn't been servicing me well. Is that because it's a bad thing or because I have bad information? And so I bet on having bad information. I just saw a real, hole in the market, pun intended, for me to fill. And it took some time to really find my footing. But yeah, 15 years later, I think that I'm doing a pretty decent job now.
How does your mom feel about you talking about sex so often?
Oh man, I mean, we're talking years, right? So my first book came out in 2009. And my parents came to my book launch and they saw that people were not masturbating. You know what I mean? They saw that it was an event that was meaningful to people and that they were having, important dialogues and it was fun. And they saw that it wasn't something dangerous and scary and harmful. And that's when that switch really happens for them.
People really trust you and they come to you for these really sometimes hard conversations. Do you feel like you've left that mark or like that you've, opened people up more?
I like to think of my superpower as like being the antidote to awkward. So it's very difficult. I get that from my dad. It's very difficult to make me uncomfortable, which is why I think I'm the perfect person for this given field. And I think that trustworthiness just means that you can talk to somebody who's not going to be like, oh my God, what? Yeah. Somebody who's going to be fascinated or who's going to have a semblance of an idea. I refer to myself as the Walmart greeter of sex and relationships.
The Walmart greeter.
Yeah, because I'm at the front of the store, like, welcome. Here's the coupon book. What are you interested in? Let me point you to aisle 14 where we've got consensual non-monogamy. Oh, there's aisle 12 over there where you could talk about gender identity. And I may not be, a specific expert in any one individual field, but my passion is to get the average person comfortable in a space that traditionally we're told is supposed to be very uncomfortable.
Do you think a lot of people are having bad sex out there?
I would say sex that is not additive, meaning that it, enhances all parts of your life. It makes you feel closer to yourself, closer to your partner, if you are partnered, and that you feel like is either achieving or, challenging you to your pleasure potential. I think that kind of sex that is, healthy and happy and explorative and expansive, and not so heavily influenced by what you think you're supposed to do, but instead like a place of true expression. I think that's rare to find people who are having that kind of sex. I think we have to redefine what bad sex is. I think bad sex is scripted.
Well, what do you mean by scripted? Like they're trying to follow like a porn script, you mean?
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, if I could, if you told me you had sex last night and I can predict the 3 things that you did and the 5 things that you said, and the 4 ways that you did it, it's probably scripted sex.
You're saying it should be a bit more spontaneous, like people need to be trying different things, explore the body. Let's talk about your CBC show, The Big Sex Talk. Tell me about the premise. Like, is it gonna be you giving people advice? Is it like a group setting? Does everybody sit down at a table and we chatting up our business?
Yeah, it's definitely none of those things. So have you ever seen Netflix Explained before?
Yes.
Okay, so it's essentially Netflix Explained for 6 different subtopics. So each episode has its own explained to it. So if you're like, what is gender identity? I hear terms like non-binary. I hear, different ways of gender expression. Like, what does it mean to be a they? What does it mean to be a he and a she? What does it mean to identify sexually one way and then to identify a gender in a different way? I am the narrator, so I'll guide you through the various different labels and some of the concepts that are being brought up, but it's introducing you to experts and to people who are living it, like people's real Canadians who are really, living these different realities. And it's so diverse. Like, you're gonna hear from people who look like your great grandma or your grandma talk about their sex life. And you're gonna hear from Gen Zs, right? Who are starting to break free from, again, some of those scripts to create their own identity after realizing, oh, I've watched every other generation really mess up their sex life. Let me do something different.
Okay. What do you want people to leave with after watching your show?
I want people to leave and have the big sex talk. This show is supposed to inspire you to start it in your own circles, in your own group chats, amongst your own friends and family, It's supposed to make you go like, wow, I didn't realize that that was the reality that people lived. I wonder if people that I know lived that, or I wonder how people who know me would feel about me living that reality. My goal, I think the goal of the show in general is to get Canada talking. And hopefully this time next year, if we ever talk again, this show made it very evident that we are that country who's willing to go there.
Okay, my last question for you. Because I'm a man and I don't have this problem, but I know some guys do. But does size really matter?
Yes, it's like asking, does breast size matter in many cases, right? Because anatomically, there's arguments for why it doesn't matter, because some of the clitoral, complex, most of it is accessed within 1 to 2 inches of the vaginal opening. And of course, majority of the clitoral complex, for most people, 95% of women will achieve, pleasure from outside stimulation. So the penis isn't necessarily the focal point in heterosexual sex for a lot of people with vulvas. However, there is a sector of the population who does, experience different spots, like the A spot and the U spot, which are deeper places of sensitivity where size could matter. But I do think aesthetically, kind of like breast size, some people they're turned on visually by that presentation. So I never want to discount and say size doesn't matter, because I've heard from many people that it really does, but I think it's person to person. But furthermore, I think more it's what you do with what you have, and then also what you're able to do with what you don't have. I think if you do that, whether your penis is 1 inch or 1,000 inches, that's what makes a good lover.
I love talking with you.
We're having a big sex talk right now.
Hey, listen, I've heard that you have a growing family that's happening.
Yes, I do. I'm pregnant with my second baby right now.
Congratulations.
So clearly I'm doing the sex somewhat competently. I am somewhat of an expert in this. I'm figuring it out a little bit.
Do we know if it's a boy or a girl?
I do know. I haven't shared yet, but I definitely know.
You're gonna give us an exclusive?
Nah.
Oh, you had me literally on the edge of my seat. Shan, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Congrats on your new CBC show, The Big Sex Talk. And thank you so much for coming on the BG Show.
Oh, thank you for having me. And just so we know, it's our CBC show. The Big Sex Talk really incorporates so many people. I'm just a small part of a very big puzzle, but to me, it truly is Canada's Big Sex Talk and Canada's big accomplishment. So congrats to us.
So did we like Shan?
Yeah, she's a vibe.
By the way, you guys are gonna have to make sure you check out the new series, The Big Sex Talk, now streaming on CBC Gem. All right, one of my favorite moments, because before we wrap up the show, we like to talk about doing too much. The Korea Herald reports that Vice President of the Korean Vaccine Society, Ma Sang-hyuk, made the why did you look at me like that?
That was good.
So he made the comments on Facebook writing, "The adults who have not yet been infected with COVID-19 are those who have interpersonal problems." He then quickly took the post down after it went viral, and he started catching some smoke. He told media outlets that the comments were only supposed to be metaphorical, adding that he was emphasizing how hard it would be to avoid catching COVID in areas where it spreads quickly. Well, let us know in the comments. Do you think his comments were funny? Or was he doing too much?
I'm gonna guess he had COVID.
He must have the biggest friend group, eh?
Yeah.
All right, that's all we have for this week. It's been a boys edition. And a reminder that we drop music news every Tuesday and Friday, so make sure that you check those out. If you haven't watched the latest ones, go watch them right now. But more importantly, what you need to do is subscribe to our channel, smash that notification bell, smash the like button, smash, and make sure to follow us on all of our social media. The links, the details are in the description below. All right, we'll see you next, same place, I promise you, same place, same time next week. And never forget, we love you for watching. Hey BG Squad, thanks so much for checking out our channel. And listen to this, we have more great content for you, like this video right here and this video right here. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to this channel right now and tap that notification bell.